for a specific player and very little information about that player. And when those two things combine, so he became such a brave person for even saying this. But in my mind, it shouldn't have been a big deal. I did believe it because first JP Hornstra put out the report that he was signing with the Blue Jays. JP Hornstra is a reputable journalist, and when he had something like that, although I was surprised, I thought, yeah, it's happening. I mean, in the weeks leading up to that, there were very real signs pointing to the Blue Jays and Shohei Ohtani's love for Toronto, and they were very serious in trying to get him, and they had the money to get him, and him flying out to Dunedin to visit their spring training complex. There being a very rich Asian population in Toronto, like those were all very real circumstances, and I heard that Shohei had a real affinity for that city. So that part of it lined up. I was told shortly after that report went live that it was not true, that he hadn't made a decision. So at that point, I was like, okay, this is a little bit premature. I think this free agency, and you brought up John Palmerosi's tweet that he was on a flight bound for Toronto that quickly people proved not to be true. John Palmerosi is also a very reputable journalist. I think this free agency was a combination of a lot of intrigue for a specific player and very little information about that player. And when those two things combine, so especially in an era of social media like this one, you get some wild reports like that, and that it was a really wild ride. Personally, I didn't think it was a big deal. I understand why it was a big deal, and it was because nobody was talking about this. But for me, you take a step back and think about what he said. He was basically saying that a team that very clearly wants Shohei Ohtani and resides in the same city where Shohei Ohtani lives had a meeting with Shohei Ohtani. Of course they're going to meet with Shohei Ohtani. It was the most obvious thing. He didn't divulge any other information. It became a big deal because there was nothing out there. So he became such a brave person for even saying this. But in my mind, it shouldn't have been a big deal. I mean, these are the types of things that, you know, make people more interested in baseball. These are the types of things that people shouldn't worry about talking about. They're harmless things. And for some reason, people make such a big deal about it. Agents and teams get so paranoid about even the smallest bit of information getting out there, when really it's all harmless. Well, apparently he wasn't willing to do the deal that the Dodgers did, so I don't know why, but he should be. I don't know where they're going to go now. I don't know where they're going to turn, but they needed him. That's true. That's true. But at least you get to see them in the playoffs.